Chapter 9, Yuhua Immortal Sect. I can't believe I got through it just like that. Fang Han never expected that eldest Miss Fang Xianxia would question him only a few times and let him go. But this is somewhat within expectation. With my identity and current strength, Fang Xianxia has no need to pry into every detail of me. It was true. No matter what strength or identity Fang Han had now, he meant nothing to a true disciple of Yuhua sect. Even the imperial edict of a king or duke was worthless in Fang Xianxia's eyes. There was simply no need for her to dig for every bit of the truth. Of course, Fang Xianxia did not know Fang Han carried the 9 apertures golden elixir and the Jiao-subduing yellow spring map. If she had, Fang Han would never have escaped even if he fled to the ends of the earth. Relaxing his mind, Fang Han went back to sleep. That night, he slept exceptionally soundly, his heart filled with hope. The hope in his heart was to see what the legendary Yuhua sect, one of the 10 great immortal sects, really looked like. In the days that followed, there was nothing but constant traveling. The enormous Fang clan procession moved steadily eastward, cutting through several large provinces including Longyuan, Wuling, Huaiyang, Taigu, and Jiuhu, covering thousands of li. After a month, they finally arrived at the foot of a continuous stretch of mountains. Ahead lies Yuhua Immortal Mountain, the foundation of our Yuhua sect. Fang Xianxia said. Fang Han, mixed among the crowd of servants, looked into the distance. Between the endless rolling mountains, countless peaks towered straight into the sky, sharp as arrows. Some peaks were covered in blooming flowers, dotted with numerous palaces. Counted thousand Jiang waterfalls cascaded down from the mountaintops, looking like countless jade dragons. The sky was as blue as a washed blue crystal, with never a trace of dark cloud. The bright sun hung high, casting soft, clear light over the pristine, spotless land. On hundreds of those peaks, ancient pines twisted their roots and gnarled branches, exuding an aura from the primordial era. Deep in the mountains, hidden between drifting mist and clouds, a huge floating city loomed vaguely, like a mirage hanging in the sky. It made people feel as if they had stepped into the immortal realm itself. Fang Han stared, stunned speechless by this heavenly scenery. A deep, innate awe rose spontaneously in his chest. Immortal Tao. Immortal Tao. This is the Immortal Tao. It is true that the 10 great immortal sects are far more magnificent than any court of emperors or generals. When I was young, my greatest wish was to become a nobleman in the capital of the Great Li Dynasty and hold power. Now that wish seems so laughably petty. Fang Han laughed at his own former shallowness and ignorance. Just as the entire procession reached the foot of Yuhua Immortal Mountain, the long cries of cranes pierced straight into the clouds, rising and falling one after another. To the surprise of everyone present, 7 or 8 white dots darted over from afar like arrows. They were no bigger than fists at first, but by the time they hovered above the crowd, they had turned into giant cranes each larger than an ox. These cranes were incredibly majestic, with bright red crests. When they spread their wings, they stirred up gales. Their claws were like steel hooks, sharp enough to pierce through gold and iron. What was even more surprising was that each crane carried a young Taoist priest dressed in feathered robes on its back. When the cranes landed, the storm grew even stronger. The beating of their wings sent wind howling like arrows, knocking people and horses over. Not good. Fang Han had been leading Qianlixu at the front of the procession. When the giant cranes descended from the sky, Qianlixu panicked instantly. It let out a long whinny and bolted madly away. Whoa! Fang Han sprinted after it, tensing his arm to drag Qianlixu to a stop. But just as he did, the other cranes were also coming into land, and it looked like Fang Han and Qianlixu would crash straight into one of them. Hey! You pathetic mortal, you dare to rampage wildly after arriving at the Immortal Mountain? Do you have a death wish? A young Taoist on one of the cranes saw what was happening, his eyes hardened. He slapped the top of the crane's head. The giant crane immediately struck down with its claws, and caught the fine steed Qianlixu hard in its grip. At the same time, another young Taoist on a different crane pulled out a long dark gold whip and swung it at Fang Han, intending to yank him up into the air. Fang Han quickly ducked and rolled on the ground, dodging the lash of the whip. But Qian Lixu had already had several bloody holes torn in its back by the crane's claws, and it collapsed to the ground, thrashing in agony. After that, the 7 or 8 young crane-riding Taoists landed properly on the ground. They swept their gazes over everyone present, their expressions haughty, like high gods looking down at ants. Their crane stood twice as tall as a grown man, massive hulking things that added even more to their intimidating aura. You mortals, why have you come to the Immortal Mountain of Yuhua sect? You, come over here. The young Taoist who had failed to lash Fang Han earlier narrowed his eyes coldly, pointing his whip at Fang Han. Are you the welcoming disciples under Senior Brother Jean? Is this how Senior Brother Jean taught you to welcome guests? Just then, Fang Qingshue's voice drifted out from the carriage at the back. When they heard her voice and saw her step out of the carriage, the 7 or 8 young crane-riding Taoists' faces changed slightly. They immediately adopted respectful tones. So it is Senior Sister Fang, newly promoted to True Disciple. Senior Sister Fang, we were indeed sent here to welcome you. But the slave you brought just now charged around recklessly and broke the rules of the Immortal Mountain. That's right, Senior Sister Fang. Senior Brother Jean specifically instructed us to teach the slaves you brought the rules of the Immortal Mountain. After all, mortals coming here need to be very careful not to offend any taboos. Another young Taoist added, calling everyone immortal every other word, that's what immortal sects are like, huh? Fang Han thought to himself, These 7 or 8 young Taoists were clearly of lower status than Fang Qingxue, and they had not cultivated to the mystic realm of divine powers either. If they had, they would not need to ride cranes, they would soar through the void on their own mana, flying by controlling their qi. Even so, Fang Han still felt another wave of awe in his heart. Riding a crane up to the sky, what kind of freedom was that? But he hated their arrogant demeanor, the way they looked at him like he was an ant. The aura of these 7 or 8 young Taoists is about the same as Giant Hand Fang Tong. They are probably experts at the 7th or 8th level of the mortal flesh realm, working hard to break through to the mystic realm of divine powers to stand above all common people. Fang Han thought to himself as he secretly observed them and gauged their cultivation. When did it become your place to discipline my people? Fang Qingxue frowned slightly. It was impossible to tell if she was angry or just annoyed by the trouble. It seems Senior Brother Jean is quite unhappy about my promotion to True Disciple. Since Senior Sister Fang does not want our welcome, we will take our leave. You can lead your people into the mountain yourself. We have already fulfilled our duty as welcoming disciples. The young Taoist who had pointed his whip at Fang Han saw Fang Qingshue's unfriendly expression, immediately signaled to the others, and prepared to mount his crane and leave. Wait. Fang Qingxue gave a cold smile, spat out 2 words. You came galloping on your cranes out of nowhere, you frightened my man and wounded my horse, and you think you can just leave like that? What, Senior Sister Fang, do you expect us to compensate you? They are just a mortal and a mortal horse. The several young Taoists' faces turned a little pale. No matter if they are mortal or horse, they belong to me, Fang Qingxue. Wounding them is an insult to me. Since that is the case, I have nothing more to say. You will pay with your lives. Fang Qingxue stood tall, her body floated up into the air in a flash. Air currents swirled around her whole body, her white robes billowed in the wind. 3 zhang around her, purple lightning crackled and flickered. An aura that looked down on all heaven and earth, that would not tolerate any offense, radiated from her body. In that moment, Fang Han felt that Fang Qingxue was like a sharply honed sword standing upright, so sharp it could stab a hole through the sky itself. She flicked her thumb upward. A blade of Yin lightning swept across the air, swallowing heaven and earth, shaking the sun and moon. Powerful electric current cut through the void, killing everything in its path. Crack! Right on the spot, the young Taoist who had pointed his whip at Fang Han was struck by the purple lightning Yin thunder blade. He let out a shrill scream and his whole body burst into flames instantly. His crane sensed danger and flapped its wings to fly away, but Fang Qingxue showed no mercy. She pressed her hand down again. Another purple lightning thunder blade blasted out, killing the crane instantly, sending it crashing down from the sky. One man and one crane, killed in an instant. Not good. The other disciples never expected Fang Xianxia would actually kill them, kill fellow disciples right at the foot of Yuhua Immortal Mountain. They were terrified and hurriedly mounted their cranes to fly away. Fang Xianxia, how dare you kill us? Aren't you afraid of the sect rules? How will you answer to Senior Brother Jin? How will you answer to the Heavenly Punishment Elder? One young Taoist roared. True disciples are personally appointed by the sect leader. We hold the power of life and death. You insulted my authority. If I do not kill you, where is the dignity of a true disciple? Blame your Senior Brother Jin, who sent you here to let me establish my authority. Next time you reincarnate, open your eyes wider. Fang Xianxia's tone was still calm as she spoke. She flicked her fingers 7 times. 7 bolts of electric light, coiling like dragons and snakes, swept across the ground, flying toward the remaining 7 men and 7 cranes. Hold your hand. Just then, a long roar came from the distant mountains, and a green shadow shot up into the sky. This green shadow was a handsome young man dressed entirely in green, with eyebrows like sharp swords. He flew through the air on his chi, moving so fast he covered dozens of li in the blink of an eye and arrived in midair. He pressed down a finger, sending out 7 bolts of deep green flame that crashed head-on into Fang Xianxia's electric bolts. The 2 attacks collided and vanished into thin air. Junior Sister Fang, we can talk this over. Why kill everyone? This man had saved the remaining 7 disciples. He hovered in the air and spoke grimly. Jin Chertai, if I want to kill, can your green flame 7 casting ray stop me? Fang Xianxia did not pause her attack at all. Her blade shifted, purple lightning gathered thickly, changing into 1,000 forms, and she struck again from a distance. At the same time, her feet hovered in the air, stepping into a profound footwork, and she killed again with lightning speed. Puff! 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 Jin Chertai had never expected Fang Xianxia would be so determined. His green flames did not have time to block, and the purple lightning thunder blades broke through his defense. Asterisk pop. 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 Asterisk. 7 sounds rang out. All 7 young Taoists and their cranes were hit by the electric current, exploded into balls of flame in midair, fell crashing down, wreathed in smoke. All dead. You! Jin Chertai roared in fury. So what, Jin Chertai? Though you are also a true disciple of Yuhua sect, your cultivation just now was only at refining false into true. You have transformed your mana into true essence, only just stepped into the 2nd level of the mystic realm, the true cultivation realm. If you are dissatisfied with me, I will be waiting for you at any time, at the heavenly punishment platform in Yuhua Palace. The 1st level of the mystic realm of divine powers is the mana realm, where mana is intangible. The 2nd level, the true cultivation realm, refines intangible mana into tangible true form, hence the name. It is called cultivating truth through borrowing falseness, refining falseness into truth, attaining truth and true self. That is what it means. When Jin Chertai heard the words heavenly punishment platform, his face changed slightly. The heavenly punishment platform was where true disciples settled irreconcilable blood feuds with a fight to the death. Once on the heavenly punishment platform, only one true disciple could leave alive. He never expected Fang Xianxia would be this unyielding. Humph. I will report this matter to the elders in charge of sect rules. Jin Chertai waved his sleeve and left. Let's go. After killing 8 men and 8 cranes, Fang Xianxia showed no fluctuation of emotion at all. She landed and returned to her carriage. This is what it means to be overbearing. This is what it means to be unrivaled. Looking down on heaven and earth, treating all things as straw. A true disciple of Yuhua sect is truly extraordinary. I have finally seen how formidable Fang Xianxia is. I am afraid Master Bai Haichan was wrong. Killing this eldest miss is not easy at all. Fang Han had witnessed the whole scene, deeply shaken by Fang Xianxia's aura. He thought to himself that killing her as master by Haichan ordered would be impossible for the foreseeable future. Someday, I will also have this kind of overbearing power, this arrogance that looks down upon all heaven and earth.